Greetings viewers, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we have a 2019 Subaru Forester in for some repairs. Customer dropped it off with several complaints, but before we get into that, we're going to do a full vehicle inspection on this Forester, see if there's anything out of the ordinary, anything that needs their attention before we go through their list of complaints. A little information, again, this is a 2019 Subaru Forester. 99,685 miles, I believe, are on the clock. Regular 2.5 liter FB25D CVT transmission, eyesight equipped, but all Subarus, I believe 18 and newer or 19 and newer had eyesight no matter what trim level you got. So as I said, we're going to go through, do an inspection front to back, note anything we find wrong. Really quickly, I will talk about the complaints the customer was concerned about, but likely we will cover those in a separate video. So main complaint was there was a clunking or odd noise in the front end when turning. There was an issue with the driver's side passenger rear door not wanting to open. The vehicle would die and not restart during auto start-stop operation. And a new one they just told me about this morning when they dropped it off was that the radio memory, the presets, clear out every time you start and stop the car, turn the car on and off. So we're gonna go through those probably in another video, but this video we're gonna go through and inspect a 2019 Forester with right at 100,000 miles on it and see how it's held up. So quick look around the car, just overall condition, pretty clean car, only a couple dents and dings. Overall, car's in really good condition. Take a look at the tires, all that stuff, and get into this full inspection. So looking under the hood, just a general visual inspection, see if anything looks out of the ordinary, anything looks wrong. Customer just put a new battery in the vehicle because during the issue with the auto start stop failure to restart, they found that they were having to jump start the car. So likely the battery was weak, unsure of the age of it, likely a factory original battery from 2019 here in 2022. It could be due for a replacement. So there is a new battery in the car. I did note, I had the hood open earlier, that the radiator cap was not fully tightened, so that was an issue. And when I went ahead and took it off, I found that the coolant in this vehicle is low. I can squish the top hose and we're not having that fluid level rise, so we will need to top up the cooling system. Also noted that our coolant reservoir here is basically empty, not seeing any there. Looks like oil change was back in the summertime. Got to check the mileage on that. They might be due for an oil and filter change. We'll look at the serpentine belt more closely. Looks like it is the factory original, which will have 99,000 miles on it. So it's past due for mileage and past due for age. Looks like those grooves are getting pretty deep in that belt. Overall, very clean engine, which you would expect for a vehicle of this vintage. I'm not seeing any oil leaks up top, anything, any fluids, anything that's jumping out to me. We'll take open the air box, check the air filter, and then we'll get underneath and check the front suspension, engine, transmission, all that good stuff. All right, guys, got the air box open now. The filter, I would probably go ahead and put a filter in it. Also, whoever did the filter last time, if it has been replaced, put it in upside down and crooked and mushed all up in there. I don't know why people struggle so badly with air filters on Subaru engines, as we saw in the quick lube issues in a video about a month ago. So other than the low coolant, the air filter being a little bit dirty, and this belt being pretty worn, I would go ahead and advise them to replace it. Those grooves are pretty daggum deep, and I'm pretty sure this is the factory belt from 2019 with 100,000 miles on it. But other than that, nothing under the hood here is jumping out to me as bad or something that needs attention. So we're going ahead and jack up the front end, the rear end, and take a look underneath. All right, guys, I'm out test driving the car now. Let's see if we can capture this noise on camera. I'm pretty sure it's our left front CV axle. Got a pop there. It doesn't really do anything when we turn to the right. It's only when we turn to the left. And noise is coming from the left side underneath, so pretty daggum sure that's what it is. Haven't gotten underneath yet and put eyes on it, although normally you won't see an issue with the CV axle visually. You will be diagnosing by sound and characteristics. We're about to turn left and you're going to hear it really good. Hopefully it'll pick up. Right there, that pop, 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 pop. Let's see if you can hear it now. I'm gonna do a sharp left turn. Hopefully you could hear that on the phone, but it's quite loud in person. So the other customer complaint was about the auto start stop system, that once the car would stop, let's see if it'll do it, that it would not restart. So car's off, foot off the brake, start it up to the gas, we're running. As I said before though, they had replaced the battery recently, so I believe that maybe they just had a weak or dying battery was the cause of the issue. All right guys, we got the splash shield off of the underside of the engine. Everything looks nice and dry under here. No leaks, which being a 2019, I would hope there would be no leaks. But you know, things do happen, but everything's nice and clean under here. No issues, no leaks from the cam carriers. Crazy to see composite cam covers now rather than aluminum, but that's the way things are going. Other than that, we'll look over here, check our sway bar end links, check the struts, CV axle, ball joints, we'll check all that stuff. Again, earlier in driving it, pretty sure the noise that we're hearing is that left front CV axle, and Subaru is mighty proud of those things. They're a little bit over $400. So it looks like we got a leaking CV axle seal here on the right front, and it looks like it's been leaking for quite a while. Running down the front differential here. Looking at the front brakes, looks like we've got quite a bit of pad life left. Not seeing any major issues. All of our slide pin boots are in good shape. Rotor looks good. No big lip on it or anything. So no issues with our front brakes. Looking back here at this control arm bushing, we're seeing the normal tearing and breakdown of that bushing ever since Subaru went to this style. And if I recall correctly, 2005, they have had an issue with these control arm bushings tearing and destroying themselves prematurely compared to the old oversized bushing that was in the previous Subaru models. So definitely gonna recommend replacement of both of the lower control arm rear bushings. And you can see that axle seal leak just a little bit better from here than underneath the car. But yeah, that's needing to be replaced, and probably time to go ahead and service that front differential gear oil and the rear differential gear oil. And over here on the driver's side, once again, we can see good life left on the pads. No issues with the dust coverings for the slide pins, good shape. And we can see here on this side, nice and dry for that axle seal, no leakage on the driver's side, although our driver's side axle is making all of that noise. And really quickly, we'll look up here at our Subaru factory struts, likely never been replaced. Again, these are now made by Showa. rather than KYB from the factory for Subaru. You just want to pull your boot up, make sure it's nice and clean, nice and dry in there, no liquid leaking out, nothing running down the body of the shock absorber there for the strut assembly. Did check both ball joints on both sides. No tears in the boot, no play when a pry bar is placed between the steering knuckle and the lower control arm. No movement there, nice and tight. Also check sway bar end links for any play. Check the tie rod ends for any play. With the wheel and tire on, grab the outside of the tire at the 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock position and just try to move it back and forth. Shouldn't be able to move it at all really, but if you have play, look for play in this joint here or look for play of the boot moving. There's another joint in there. Either one, you will have to be replacing your inner tie rod or your outer tie rod. So one thing to note here in looking at the tires, there is a little bit of dry rot on these tires. Tread isn't horrible, but it is pretty much time for replacement with the dry rot and the wear on them. And moving on to the rear brakes, I really can't give you a good shot through the wheel. Didn't plan on taking the rear wheels off, but the brakes on the rear are quite a bit more worn than the front. A little bit below 50% pad wear on the rears. Looking underneath the rear of the vehicle, everything looks to be in good order. No issues seen with the shocks, no leaks, no blown out shocks. As I said earlier, the brake pads are a little bit thin on the rear. All the bushings look to be good. Ball joint there, all this stuff went through with the pry bar. Check, everything's nice and tight, nothing loose, nice and dry around the rear differential. No leaking axle seals, no leaking rear diff cover, nothing like that going on back here right now. Looking at the passenger side, more of the same, everything in good condition, nothing jumping out as needing repair or gonna be an issue anytime soon. So guys, went and checked the actual tread depth with a tread depth checker. We're between 6 and 7/32. That's not horrible, but we are very close to the end of life. And with the dry rot, I'm gonna go ahead and advise tire replacement. So here's the overview. We found low coolant. We found that the serpentine belt is old and it needs to be replaced. Air filter needs to be replaced. Looks like we are over for an oil change. The sticker inside said the oil should be changed at, I believe, 95,000 miles. And the oil filter had a date stamp of July of this year. The date stamp on the oil change sticker was June of this year. So I believe they are over for that oil change. The right front axle seal, as we saw, was leaking. The left front CV axle needs to be replaced. The rear brakes are pretty worn, and I just mentioned about the tires. Other than that, pretty good. First 100,000 miles for this 2019 Forester Premium. Also on the list, I would go ahead and advise replacement of the front and rear differential gear oil, and go ahead and do a drain and refill on the CVT fluid. So guys, got a hold of the customer and got the approval for the CV axle, for the axle seal, the serpentine belt, and they're checking to see if the oil change is to date or if we need to go ahead and do that as well. We will cover those repairs in a future video. So 2019 Forester with right at 100,000 miles on it has held up, in my opinion, extremely well. Now, I don't have the service history or the repair history on this vehicle to know if there's been any major issues in its time till now, but just looking at the car as it is now at 100,000 miles, it has held up incredibly well, and there's very minimal issues with the car. With that said, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you all in the next one.